Okay, so it is possible to use table create functions to dynamically generate content on multiple or even within the same worksheet in Excel. So in this particular case, I've got three tables that I'm going to be creating, but it's basically calling the same function on the same table with this case because we don't have any uniqueness to it. So I'm going to create new tables by giving them different names. And just so that we're aware of how Nitro-CELL's logic is working here, I'm going to create a few just kind of dumb columns. So we'll say cow, dog, cat, pig, and sheep. Now, what this is going to do when we press run is it's going to create the wow tab because it didn't exist, and then it's going to add each of those tables in. Now, the important thing to note here is that we did not specify a particular location for each of these. So what Nitro-CELL is doing is it's looking at the sheet and the available content, and it's looking at the request saying, I need to create a table. In this case, it's just creating the default table. And then it's creating a table with specified columns. And you'll notice that as the content is changing, Nitro-CELL is automatically computing where that next table should be created. Now, this is something specific to crates when you do it mainly the first time. So let's put some real data behind this and kind of see what it does. So let's say that we want to, let's say, report the item counts for the current assembly that's here. So that's basically a BOM. So I'm going to say this is my BOM table, and I'm going to create it on a WOW tab, and then I'm going to report all of the content to that particular thing. Now let's go in and let's maybe do a get parameters using the table parameter function. But we only want it for maybe the parts, and we're only interested in, let's say, anything that starts with DESC. And we'll call this param table. So we're going to write that over to our parameters table. As a last function here, let's do get files maybe. So we're going to use the table application get files function. And let's say that we want anything that has the word plate in it for a part, and we'll call this item, let's call this active parts table. Okay, so we're going to write that to there. Now, when we run this, we have to remember that in this Nitro-CELL execution sequence that's occurring, it's basically following the instructions as it goes down to kind of process against this model here. So the first thing it's doing is creating a table called BOM table. And if we come back over here, we'll notice that in the design, sure enough, there's our BOM table, and there's the content within it. If we go to our next one, it's then going to go in and create our parameter table that we've asked for and report all of the files, PRT files, with anything with DESC star. Now, in this particular case, you'll notice that the first table moved the available space over to the right. This picked up on that location and then wrote out its data. And then the last command here is actually creating and writing that data also. Now, the cool thing about tables is that you can append to them. They are kind of set up that way by default. So the create table will by default clear the table if it exists. But we can also come in and say we're going to add some additional content to here. So in this particular case, I'm going to create a duplicate of the get files. And in this case, I just want anything that starts with S to be written. So let's go ahead and run this. And you'll notice that it's clearing each of these tables because they already exist. It's clearing the tables, and in this case, it's just rewriting the BOM data. In this case, it's cleared the table and then started off by writing our matches for the MOD star, and then followed up with the DESC star. And in this last table here, you'll notice that it started off with our plate matches, and then anything that started with S has been appended to it afterwards. So adding tables and multiple tables into a sheet is very easy to do. And you do not need to be super specific about where they are. But if you plan correctly, this really just streamlines the automation process and reduces the amount of overhead as to where the tables are, where they need to be going, and how and on which sheets they needed to be created.